Each and every Monday is $9 Monday at wagertalk.com, and all daily picks packages are priced at only $9, including 5% best bets normally priced at $35. As an added bonus, any picks packages loaded early for overnight Tuesday or action during the week will also be priced at $9 until midnight on Monday. So make sure to take advantage of getting these $25 and $35 picks for only $9 before the clock strikes 12 and they return to regular price.
Welcome to the NBA Triple Double Show, powered by SportsMemo. I'm your host, Ronald Cabang, also known as UCapper from SportsMemo.com and at U_capper on Twitter. I'll be joined by Moneyline Matt, a true triple double today. Two cappers breaking down 3 games from today's slate. Before we get into those games, though, I do want to talk about some of the promos we got going on over at SportsMemo.com. First one up, promo code 77. You can get a 7-day all-access pass from myself or Matt for just $49. You can use it for actually both of us too if you want. Both of us cap more than just the NBA. We do college basketball, NFL, UFC. When we have UFC, we got soccer going on as well. Everything going on the premium side for both of us here. We also have another promo going on, $100 off the remainder of the NBA season, using promo code SPORT100. That's of the NBA season, using promo code SPORT100. That's including the playoffs and the championship as well. So for the rest of the NBA season, $100 off. Get that over at sportsmemo.com. Also check out the site. We got the odds page going on. We have everything from other cappers as well, putting up their picks and packages. So head over to the site after the show here. Also, make sure you hit the like and subscribe button before you go. It only takes a couple clicks, and it helps us grow tremendously on this show here on the Triple Double. Bring on Moneyline Matt here. We're ready to rock. Matt, Friday show, just me and you, two cappers, the original Triple Double here. This week has been up and down for me, but yesterday coming off of a little bit of a high, 2-1 in the NBA with some profit there, 1-0 in college basketball. So hopefully we just get into this weekend on a continuing on a winning note here. How was your day yesterday?
Yeah, like we talked about, I've been keeping things pretty simple, 1 or 2 plays a day. This week has been far better, definitely getting back into those winning ways. Yesterday, I had a Mason Plumlee double-double at around even money. That hit. He played very well in that game, and I actually had the Hornets as well. I felt like it was a solid Hornets spot. As me and you talked about, the Hornets are one of those teams that I feel like I have a good read on randomly. Love watching LaMelo Ball, so hit there and got a solid Friday slate. I really like this night game with the Raptors and the Warriors. That's an exciting game. So, yeah, definitely a good slate. Ready to break it down with you.
Yeah, let's get into it. Our first game up, Grizzlies and the Wolves here. Grizzlies are on a 4-game losing streak, so they're not playing that well right now, coming off that last-second loss to the Warriors on Wednesday on that pool layup. Last game of a 5-game road trip as well before they head home for 2 games. On the Wolves side, they won and covered 3 of their last 4 games there, so they're playing pretty well. First of a 5-game homestand, though, following 2 games on the road. First leg of back-to-back games. They got the well-rested Kings on deck tomorrow. As far as injuries, Danny Green, Adams, Concha are out for the Grizzlies. Bane is questionable. On the other side, we got Taurean Prince and Cat. They're both out. Gobert is questionable on that side. From a matchup perspective, they split the matchups. Both home teams winning and covering in those games. Both games went under the closing total by double digits as well. Do you think this is a sort of like a stylistic matchup where even though they play high pace, they both go under? I mean, both of their matchups from the previous games under by double digits. That's kind of interesting to see because you would expect points from these two teams. What are your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, in terms of the total, I think I would have to wait and see on Rudy Gobert news. I know he's a game time decision or something along those lines coming into this matchup. Steven Adams is already declared out, I believe. So if those two were both declared out, I actually might go the other way and maybe lean the over. But for me, this is one of those spots where I'm actually okay with the Wolves here. I like the Wolves +3 because, like you said, these two teams have split. They're actually 3-3 over their last 6 matchups. And the Minnesota Timberwolves actually tend to play the Memphis Grizzlies very, very well. And when you take a look at this and it's a +3 spread, it also makes me think that once again, kind of we called this on the last show, Ron, that another player from the Memphis Grizzlies very well could be declared out. The only thing that makes me wonder if they're not going to do that is the fact that the Memphis Grizzlies, I believe, are on a 4-game losing streak at this point in time. I'm sure they would like to right that ship, go into Minnesota and get a win. But with that being said, the Memphis Grizzlies do not play that well on the road. They're 8-15-1 against the spread on the road. The T-Wolves are 13-13, so nothing special, but a lot better than 8-15-1. And one player that I want to talk about real quick that tends to elevate his game against the Memphis Grizzlies is that of Anthony Edwards. Anthony Edwards has put up 29 points, 28 points, and 30 points in his last 3 outings against the Memphis Grizzlies. And right now, tonight, I believe his line is 28.5. That's a little rich for me. I don't know if I can get down with that or not. I'm just trying to point out a situation and a player that definitely elevates his game. Maybe someone good for a same game parlay and an alt line or something along those lines. But yeah, again, a 28.5 might be a little rich for me. But again, I'm still backing the Wolves here. If in fact Rudy Gobert does play on top of that, I think the Minnesota Timberwolves have a better paint presence and a better defensive presence, in that middle than that of the Memphis Grizzlies, especially if you're Tillman. Maybe they run Jaren Jackson Jr. at the 5, which, very good defender on top of that. But Jackson Jr. does get in foul trouble sometimes. So for me, I'm going to back the Wolves here at home. I think this is a team that plays very, very good against Memphis. And on top of that, like I just said, Ron, I think the line is a little fishy and another player might be declared out as we close closer to tip-off.
Yeah, I mean, I think for the most part, I'm gonna agree with you here. I think the Wolves are in a good position as home dogs this season, 7-3 straight up, and ATS in that spot. One thing that I was looking at was actually more to the under. I know you said maybe if Gobert's out, looked for the over, but for me, I continue to look at this under. The Grizzlies, they're just struggling offensively going into this game. I think they've gone under their team total in 5 straight games here. The Grizzlies also 6-1 to the under as road favorites following a loss. The only game that went over because it went into OT. So in regulation, it would have been 7-0 to the under. Like I mentioned, the Wolves as home dogs, they do well in that spot. The other way that I was looking to was like I mentioned to the under. It's because in those games there, they average a combined score of 230 points per game, and we have a high total here at 238.5. And if we look at just most recent games here, last 10 games from both teams, they're both top 10 in defensive rating while being in the middle of the pack offensively. So I think for me, I think they continue to go under. I think this is the 3rd game together that they go under the closing total tonight. For the most part, I that's the way that I would be towards the Wolves and the under. But I'm not too confident in it yet to make it one of my premium plays or anything like that. But those would be the only ways that I go as far as that. One thing to add too, I know I said the under, but I was recently looking at some referee stats, right? Because I was looking at teams that go to the free throw line a lot, right? I looked at this game specifically. There's 2 refs in this game, Scott Foster and Andy Nagy. They're both reffing this game, and they're a combined 40 and 21 to the over this season. So if people like ref stats, that's something to look into there. They've been 2 over referees.
I love that.
Anything else to add? What was that?
I love that you pulled that stat because, I mean, I forget what that Chris Paul stat is or something like where Chris Paul has not won a game.
He has not. Exactly.
What is it exactly?
That's exactly it. It's like 16-0, 16-0, or 0-16 or something like that with Scott Foster.
And you can't argue those numbers. Like, honestly, 0-16, you kind of got to just start backing it. And I read something interesting, too, because Chris Paul is the president of the Players Association. So it's kind of him versus the league sometimes. So, there is almost like a little conspiracy theory where they're trying to get Chris Paul in certain situations. And, maybe that's for another time. But with this game, you do bring up some very good points in regards to the under. Because here's the thing. When you look at this Minnesota Timberwolves team, they just don't have very much offense without Karl Anthony Towns. You know, they have D'Angelo Russell, as we all know, he's very hot and cold. Sure, he can go off, but he's going to have those games where he goes under 10 points as well. Then you have Anthony Edwards, who, you know, he's going to get all the volume here. He should get 20, 25 points almost per game. But from there is not much. It's Jaden McDaniels, Kyle Anderson, Rudy Gobert. Like, those aren't scores. Then you go to the bench. The only guy is really Jalen Noel, and Jalen Noel's kind of nice, but he's kind of like D'Angelo Russell, very streaky. If he comes out and you see him miss 3 shots, he's probably going to have a 2 for 8 night. So again, this is just one of those teams that doesn't have a lot of offensive firepower, to your point. So, you know, I don't have an official play on it, but after hearing you say that, I definitely see where you're coming from, and I think the under it could be a very good look.
Love it. All right, let's get to this next one here. The Cavs and the Thunder. This one's interesting because we're seeing the Thunder as favorites here against the Cavs. Cavs have lost 3 of their last 4 games, so not in good form. Second game of a 2-game road trip. They are rested though. They haven't played since the outright loss to the Knicks in New York. I think that was a few days ago. Thunder have been in really good form lately. 7-3 straight up in their last 10 games, including covering 9 in a row before they lost to the Hawks on Wednesday. Second of a 3-game homestand for them as well. It's crazy to think that the Thunder are only 2.5 games back from 5th spot in the West. The parity in the West is kind of crazy right now, and I think they're an underdog team that people are really rooting for. They're also one of the best ATS teams in the league so far this season. As far as injuries, Windler out, Love, Mitchell questionable. Last I heard, though, Mitchell was likely to miss at least 2 games, so I don't expect him to play tonight, and that's probably the reason why the line is moving towards the Thunder today. On the Thunder side, Dort and Poku and Robinson Earl are out for them. From a matchup perspective, Cavs won and covered that first matchup. 4.5 point home favorites in that one, and they were on playing the second game of back-to-back games, 110 to 102. This game was in December, though. The Thunder were a different team back then. They had Poku and Robinson Earl in the starting lineup, and they really weren't mustering up a lot of offense at that time. So do you think any changes in this one? Do you think that with the Thunder being favorites in this spot here that they could take care of business?
So for me, I'll be honest, the whole Donovan Mitchell thing definitely factors in. I mean, you have to factor in Donovan Mitchell. He's their leader. He's their primary usage guy. I like how him and Darius Garland have been starting to work together as well. And, you know, this is a Cleveland Cavs team who's 30-20 on the year and looking to face off against the Oklahoma City Thunder. And OKC Thunder are coming off that crazy fast game against the Atlanta Hawks in which they lost 137 to 132, a 269 total. That's just absurd. But, you know, we're starting to see these 240s, 245s. I think we're going to start seeing some 250 totals going forward on these slates. But yeah. I don't think this is going to be one of those fast-paced games. I think it's going to be very slow, actually. And I'm actually siding with the Cleveland Cavaliers here. And a lot of it has to do with the length of the Cavs down low. You know, they got Jarrett Allen, Evan Mobley, Kevin Love. Kevin Love is a game-time decision in this spot, I believe. So definitely would like to see his news because he is a very big factor coming off the bench. And, you know, when you break this down a little further, the Oklahoma City Thunder are actually dead last throughout the entire NBA in rebounding. And the Cleveland Cavaliers are first throughout the entire NBA in rebounding. And that's kind of where I see this game going. On top of that, you know, when you have guys like Jarrett Allen in the paint and Evan Mobley in the paint, you can't drive to the basket as much as you'd like. And then when you look at the Oklahoma City Thunder, they're actually 21st in overall field goal percentage throughout the entire NBA. So not shooting at a very high clip from the mid-range, from the three-point line, things like that. And when you face the Cleveland Cavaliers, you need to be able to make those mid-range shots, to make those three-point shots, again, because you can't attack the paint like you would maybe some other team just because of that length of Jarrett Allen and Evan Mobley. You're also not going to get many second chance opportunities when on the other side, the Cleveland Cavaliers could get a good amount of second chance opportunity. You know, so for me, it's actually going to be the Cleveland Cavaliers. I would take them with the points here. There are a couple things, you know, I'd like to see that Kevin Love news. Is Donovan Mitchell already 100% declared out?
No, he's officially questionable on the injury report, but we know how the injury reports have been lately. Also, just based off of post-game interviews from a few nights ago, he did mention he was going to miss this trip here. So for the most part, I believe he's not going to play. I know it says questionable, not even doubtful, but questionable. But I don't expect him to play tonight. I mean, things could change though.
I agree.
It's a
I
groin
agree
issue,
with you.
man. It's a groin issue in the NBA is tough.
That's like a hamstring issue. You can re-aggravate it so easily. You might as well just sit it out, let it rest, get the treatment. And I think the line reflects it as well. The fact that they're a 1 point underdog on the road against OKC. I understand they're on the road, but this Cavs team with Donovan Mitchell, I was probably a couple point favorite against OKC. So I think you're correct there. I think that the line definitely reflects it. But again, due to the inside presence of the Cleveland Cavaliers, I would be with the Cavs here still.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at it from a different angle, and this is what's cool about the show is that we look at games differently, right? So for me, I'm actually looking towards the Thunder side here. It could be towards the spread. I haven't made anything official yet, but I was looking towards the Thunder on the spread, or maybe they're just taking their team total over. A couple of things that I looked at: Cavs, they're road dogs situations, 2-7 straight up, 3-6 ATS in that spot. But if you include that they're the road dog playing a team with a losing record, in same situation tonight. The Thunder have a losing record, but they're the favorite. They're the Cleveland Cavaliers are 0-2 straight up and against the spread in that spot. They lost outright to the Raptors and the Warriors. I think from a team perspective, I feel like the Raptors and the Warriors are a little bit better than the Thunder overall. But for the most part, I think current form is telling me that the Thunder may be an underrated team, and so does their ATS record overall this season. If we look at them on the second leg of back-to-back games, the Cavs, they're 5-2 straight up, 4-3 against the spread. But if we look at it a little bit deeper, when they're on the road in that same exact spot, they're actually 0-2 straight up and against the spread in that spot. And if we look at the Thunder, they allowed over 130 points in their last game. I looked at what happens after those games. They're 2-1 straight up, 3-0 against the spread. They're averaging 125.7 points per game. And that's why I was looking towards a pivot over to their team total. If I don't trust them to cover, maybe they just go over their team total for the most part. Another stat to back that, we know to back the Thunder as dogs, right? They're one of the best underdog teams against the spread. But if you look at them as home favorites, they're actually 6-4 straight up and against the spread, which is profitable. But for the most part, I was looking at their team total. They're 8-1 to their team total over in that spot, averaging 121.8 points per game. And I believe their team total tonight is like 112. So I could see that going past there, even with or without knowing if they cover the spread. If that makes sense to you. Now, what are your thoughts on that? Maybe pivot to the team total over. What do you think?
Yeah, no, I don't think that's a bad idea at all. This won't be an official play for me. I'll say that right now because if I'm being honest, the Thunder are one of those teams I do not like betting against. They're just one of those teams where I don't care how big of an advantage the other squad has, like tonight, even with the Cleveland Cavaliers, with their rebounding advantage or the way that I see it, the inside presence. The Thunder just find a way to cover these games or even win these games outright. They are a scrappy young team. You know, they're 15-8 against the spread at home, and they're 14-8 against the spread on the road. So there's not much that gets to this team. And then you got Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, who he's kind of the leader of that team. He's the one who goes out, sets the pace, gets the points going. And, you know, this is just a fun team to watch. And I think, you know, not even just this year, going forward into next year and on, this is going to be a tough team to compete with because they're going to have some draft picks. They're going to have some money to distribute in the offseason. So, you know, this is just an exciting team in general. But yeah, I think you're definitely correct with the team total over instead, maybe a little bit of a pivot, because if you're not sure what direction this game might go, I do think the Oklahoma City Thunder have the ability to score, especially at home where they play better on the season.
Yeah, one last thing to add on this one. I mentioned Lou Dort is out. I looked at the Thunder last season. Their offense actually was 3.5. I looked at the Thunder last season. Their offense actually was 3.5 points better as far as offensive rating. So their offensive efficiency is actually greater when Dort is out. So another look towards that team total over. All right, let's look at the last game here. Raptors and the Warriors. Raptors 2 straight wins for them here. Second of a 6-game Western Conference road trip. First leg of back-to-back games. They do have the Blazers on deck tomorrow. Warriors, they're coming off of that last second win over the Grizzlies. They didn't cover that game though. This is also their last game of a 3-game homestand before going on the road for 3 games. Injury report, I only see Banton as questionable for the Raptors, nobody else. So they're getting healthier as the season goes on. On the other side, Iggy and Wiggins are both questionable. Not sure if they're going to be playing today, but Wiggins obviously a key component to this squad here. That they need that added length, because I think Toronto is one of the more lengthier teams from like 3 to 5, the 3 to 5 position to match up with his Warriors. So I think they need Wiggins in this one. From a matchup perspective, Warriors won and covered that first matchup in Toronto, 126-110. As 6-point dogs, they flew over the closing total that day. It was 223.5. Curry did not play that game, and they still won. But if you look on the Toronto side, no Gary Trent, no Precious Achua, no OG Anunoby that day. So I mean, that's pretty much the reason why the Warriors won that game. With the Toronto Raptors being more healthier now, do you think that they can get that revenge here in this game? What do you think, Matt?
Yeah, honestly, I'm with the Toronto Raptors here, and it's for a lot of the reasons that you brought up. I mean, for one, this is a +5 or 5.5 point spread, which is a couple possessions that you would get with the Toronto Raptors. And I personally believe that this Raptors team matches up very well against the Golden State Warriors. And I say that because the Golden State Warriors, as a lot of people know, they love to go to that small ball lineup with Draymond Green at the 5. Where if you do that with the Toronto Raptors, you're feeding into exactly what they want. You're feeding it into exactly how they run their basketball, because they love running Pascal Siakam at that 5 position. And obviously, Pascal Siakam is not a true 5. And sometimes when they're facing bigger teams, like say the Philadelphia 76ers, they struggle with that because there's just so much height and length. And although Siakam is a bigger body, he's still skinny. He's still someone who can get back down fairly easy. And the Golden State Warriors don't exactly have that if in fact they turn to that smaller lineup with with Andrew Wiggins in the game. Again, to your point, Ron, I think Andrew Wiggins being in this game is very key, because if Wiggins is in, then I would say the Warriors probably are more prone to go small ball. In addition to that, Wiggins is a very, very key defender in this matchup, again, because of the length that you mentioned earlier. You know, Gary Trent Jr., a very good outside shooter. Fred VanVleet, very much been coming along. Scotty Barnes, he's very good in 3 stat categories, can do a little bit of everything. OG Anunoby starting to come on. And then Pascal Siakam, of course. So of that Warriors lineup, the best defender other than Draymond Green is Andrew Wiggins. So you need him. You need that length out on the court when going against these guys like the Scotty Barnes, like the Anunobys, like the Gary Trent from 3. So for me, again, I'm siding with the Toronto Raptors here because of their length, because of their defense. As we know, the Warriors run the top pace in all of basketball on top of that. And I think the Raptors are a good enough defensive team that they'll be able to limit them a little bit and be able to keep up. And I see guys like Scotty Barnes having a good game here. I see guys like Pascal Siakam having a good game here. And my best bet is actually from this game, so we'll get into that after. But for me, I'm with the Toronto Raptors here. I think 5, 5.5, wherever you're getting this line, I think that's a lot of points for a Toronto team that is finally getting their starting lineup all back together. You know, you need a couple games with that team, all like the chemistry, synergy, you talk about it all the time. And I think they're finally starting to ramp up. And again, I think this Raptors team could be a bet on team going forward. And it's going to start probably here.
Yeah, I think my play on this one, or my look on this one, is correlated to what you're saying. I'm not focusing on the spread. I was looking more so again towards the team total here, and I think the Raptors team total is in play. I looked at them. They're 2-0 to the over. For the most part, they're going over their team total in both of those games. Raptors 5-1 to the over in road non-conference games. So when they travel over to the West, the one game that was the one game that went under was the first game of the road trip versus the Kings. So to me, there was like sort of a combination of travel fatigue for the Raptors and also a letdown spot for the Kings. They followed up a 33-point win over the Grizzlies with a very like low offensive efficiency game against the Raptors. So that's why it flew under. But if we look towards the Warriors side, they failed to cover in 5 straight home games. In this streak, they're allowing 120.4 points per game. The Raptors are their team total is 114.5. So for me, I think this is a spot where things kind of going in the same direction as far as Raptors performing well offensively in this current spot. and the Warriors struggling on the defensive side of the ball. So for me, I would look towards the Raptors team total over 114.5. And if they do that, then I would think that they would be able to cover the spread here. I think it was like 5, and it's moving down too. It opened at 5.5. It's down to 5. So the market seems to be agreeing with the Raptors here. Any player props looks on this one?
Yeah, I definitely really like the look of Scotty Barnes here. Honestly, when I was looking on like gambling Twitter and kind of doing my research and stuff, a lot of cappers were on Scotty Barnes. So like when that many cappers are on one person, I tend to kind of pivot and go off. Don't get me wrong. Scotty's in a great spot. I believe his TRA is 29.5. He's one of those guys who I think this is a great situation for him. He likes pace-up spots. He likes to attack the basket. He likes to facilitate. He likes to rebound. Likes to do a little bit of everything. But like I said, when that many people are on one play, I tend to pivot and go a little bit of a different direction. And my best bet actually is from this game. So we'll get into that shortly. But if there's anyone else I were to look at here, I actually have two. So if Andrew Wiggins plays, I think Andrew Wiggins is going to start ramping his game up. You know, I really like targeting players. So once they're reinserted back into that lineup, I generally take them around the third or fourth game because you'll see 22 minutes, then you'll see 26 minutes, then you'll see 29, 30, 31. And that fourth game is finally when they're ramping up, getting their 29, 30, 31. And that fourth game is finally when they're ramping up, getting their full minutes. They'll get their full volume. And oftentimes the books haven't corrected themselves just yet. So you can take advantage of a lower line than typical. So I will be looking at Andrew Wiggins tonight. I also think Gary Trent threes. I think Gary Trent threes, if that's at 2.5, I think that's a pretty good look tonight. So this is one of those games, though, where I think there's going to be a good amount of player props that are very viable for people to take.
Yeah, good look there. I think as far as the player prop, I know your best bet is going to be on that game. So let's just get straight into that. Going into your best bet and also talk to the people about what you got going on the premium side today.
All right, for sure. So, yeah, tonight, guys, over on SportsMemo, we'll definitely have some plays locked and loaded for this slate. I'm definitely going to be attacking this Raptors and Warriors game in terms of prop perspective, in terms of probably some team total perspective as well. And then, of course, we got the NFL playoffs this weekend. I already have a play loaded for the Cincinnati Bengals and the Kansas City Chiefs, and I will 100% have one for the 49ers and Philadelphia Eagles. Just kind of waiting on line movement there to see if the line gets pushed up or down a little bit more and where exactly I want to take that one. So, but for today, okay, our last best bet was Ja Morant, and he actually landed right on 29, so it depends where you got that line. A lot of books closed at 28.5, so a lot of people did win with that one. And again, it kind of shows that point where you got to shop around with some of these lines. Check all the sports books, get the best odds, get the best number, and, you know, because a lot of the times that half point matters. But today we are going to be going with Pascal Siakam over 32.5 points plus rebounds. And Pascal Siakam and the Toronto Raptors are traveling on the road to face off against the Golden State Warriors, as we have talked about. And this is one of those spots where I talked about it before. I think this Golden State Warriors team is far more prone to going small ball with their entire lineup. And that means Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, and Andrew Wiggins all at that 1 through 3 position, okay? And then from there, you know, the Toronto Raptors in turn go small ball as well. And when the Toronto Raptors go small ball, that is when Pascal Siakam is at his most success. You know, on the season, Siakam is a center. He truly does it all. He's averaging 25.2 points, 8.3 rebounds, and 6.5 assists, actually averaging over the current line against the Golden State Warriors. And, you know, against the Warriors, Pascal Siakam has had 25 points in 3 of his last 4 matchups. So he's doing a very good job scoring against the Golden State Warriors and has done a good job getting rebounds as of late on top of that. You know, this is an uptick spot against the Warriors. The Warriors are first in all of basketball in terms of pace. They are second in terms of how fast they get a shot up within the 24-second shot clock. So again, they get into their sets very fast and that shot is going up. You know, how often do we see Jordan Poole just get over half court and then chuck that shot up? You know, it happens all the time. And then from there, Pascal Siakam gets that ball. He runs up the court. And tonight, he'll most likely be matched up against Draymond Green, which, you know, Draymond Green is a very solid defender, but Draymond Green also doesn't want to get in foul trouble. He has to be somewhat careful. Pascal Siakam is someone who's very good from the outside too. He's a solid 3-point shooter. And really when he gets going and becomes that primary rebounder, that's when he's most aggressive. That's when he gets into his game more than anything. And that's when he's actually attacking the basket and hitting these overs like he typically does. With Pascal Siakam as well, when he's hit his over, so he's actually hit this over 32.5 points plus rebounds 5 of his last 13 games, which I know doesn't sound amazing in terms of a hit percentage, but a lot of these hits have come against fast-paced teams. Of those 5 hits, those hits came against the Pacers, top 5 in pace. The Hornets, top 5 in pace. The Celtics, not so fast in pace, but sometimes they do lack on the defensive end, I could say. And then lastly, the Sacramento Kings. The Kings are one of the fastest teams in all of basketball as well. So this is one of those situations that plays right into the hands of Pascal Siakam. I think he's going to attack the basket tonight. And then one other thing that I want to say is when you face the Golden State Warriors, you have to be out at that perimeter. You have to be guarding those perimeter shooters, Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, Andrew Wiggins now. So Pascal Siakam won't be doing that. Pascal Siakam will be out with Draymond Green. You don't really have to worry with Draymond Green out at the three-point line. So because of that, I think Pascal Siakam is going to be able to attack the boards more than even typical, and he will be that primary rebounder tonight due to everyone else being at the three-point line. So all in all, I think it's a great spot for Pascal Siakam. I think it's an uptick spot. He's going to attack the basket, and I also think he will be the primary rebounder tonight. So because of that, the best bet for today is Pascal Siakam over 32.5 points plus rebounds.
Yeah, I like that play a lot. I like the fact that you brought up that he's going to be guarding Draymond, and he's going to give Draymond all the space that he can have pretty much, and focusing on the rebounds there. So that's a good look, focusing on that points and rebounds specifically, not the PRA. For me, I'm going to go with the Bucks Pacers game here. I'm going to look at the Bucks in the first quarter specifically. I do see it at 2.5. In some places, actually before the show, I saw it at 2.5. It was a little bit juiced, so I'm assuming that it's going to continue to move a little bit larger. So if you like the Bucks minus 2.5 now, or if you like the Bucks in the first quarter, I would say take it sooner rather than later. Bucks are on a 2-game winning streak, right? They faced the Nuggets without Jokic and Murray. They did not perform well offensively. I think they bounced back offensively against a Pacers team that is literally the worst first quarter team in the league. Their net rating in the first quarter is minus 17. The closest team to them is a minus 12.5. So there's a huge gap there as far as how they do start off these games. Since Hallie has been gone, they've lost 8 of their last 9 games, covering only 2 of them. Third game in 4 nights. They've been traveling for every game since January 14th. They haven't had multiple games in a row since then. So I think there's going to be travel fatigue on their side as well. Giannis is considered probable, so he should play tonight. The Pacers, they're missing a lot of offense here. Hallie is out. Duarte is out. Turner, Nesmith, and Nembhard are all questionable. It's going to be interesting to see if they just punt this game here and let everyone rest. But even if they do play, they're going to be playing hurt. So that's the way that I would look here, is towards that Bucks team. Some trends to back it up here. Bucks going from home to road. They are more of an under team going from home to road, 9-2 to the under. But if we focus primarily on that first quarter, their average first quarter margin is actually +6 in those 11 games. If they're on the road versus a conference opponent with a losing record as well, they also are trending towards the under. But in those first quarters, their average first quarter margin is +9.2. So they're really killing these teams on the road here in those spots. If we look at the Pacers specifically, they are covering from a full game perspective, going from a road game to a home game. But in that first quarter, their average first quarter margin is -4. And then also another one, their average first quarter margin is -4.6 as home dogs, even though they're covering the full game at a high clip, 11-4 to the full game ATS. But primarily looking at that first quarter. So to me, I think we go in and out, take the Bucks first quarter and forget the rest of the game. Let's just cash it real quick and then just chill the rest of the game. Don't have to worry about it at all. So that would be the way that I go. That is it, guys. That's the end of the show, the last show of the week. This is the Friday show, just me and Matt, the true triple double show. We capped 2 cappers, capping 3 games. One thing I do want to mention is to head over to sportsmemo.com. Once again, we got the promo deals going on. Double seven for myself and Matt. All access, not just the NBA, but all access for 7 days. $49. So that's just $7 a day. Like I mentioned, myself and Matt, we do way more than just the NBA. I do college basketball as well. Matt is killing the NFL, and we got key games this weekend, the conference championship. So I know Matt probably got some plays there. Also follow us both on Twitter. Matt does a lot of single game parlays. If you follow his single game parlays, you'd be up like, I don't know, 50 G's or something like that. That's the number that I heard, around 50 G's. So definitely check out Matt's Twitter. Check out us on sportsmemo.com. The odds page is there. Everything going on over there. Next time we see you guys will be Monday, 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time on this same channel. Till then, good luck with all your action. Peace.
Each and every Monday is $9 Monday at wagertalk.com, and all daily picks packages are priced at only $9, including 5% best bets, normally priced at $35. As an added bonus, any picks packages loaded early for Overnight Tuesday or action during the week will also be priced at $9 until midnight on Monday. So make sure to take advantage of getting these $25 and $35 picks for only $9 before the clock strikes 12 and they return to regular price.